listening to everyone, and this is part of moving forward with our new normal as far as coping with loss, coping with stressors, having physical limitations that are around us, not by choice, but by circumstance. And I think that, you know, a lot of different things that all of you ladies have said, the chain, having an identity and a connection on a human level to what the chain is in life. You know, for all the things that we took for granted, I think, as far as for me, prior to COVID, and understanding that, you know, even the simple thing of where your medication is coming from, how do you get it? You know, I was faced also with my parents. I have elderly parents, and I couldn't get their medication for close to a week. It was on back order. It wasn't life-threatening. You know, I have an 89-year-old and a 73 with multiple pre-existing conditions, and it was really scary to be the one to have to try to get this. So I understood, for me, different things about the chain. Where are we in this new chain? Moving forward, like the loss, it broke my heart, and I hear about the elderly and losing family. What about the nursing home people who died, didn't have a voice? You know, and now, you know, you're hearing the political climate about what's going on with nursing homes. I used to be in healthcare for many, many years, and I worked with a lot of facilities, and they are a private business. And yes, they provide a service, but, you know, we see now that a lot of patients did not go to the hospital. They died in the nursing home. Was the quality of care there? Were the family members? They're not being given the explanation. So we're starting to see a lot of things going on in our society that we're now fine-tuning ourselves and connecting to. For me, you know, that was an awakening, a connection. Losing a friend, you know, a friend of mine lost her grandfather, who was a religious man, because he went to pray and he caught it and went into the hospital and never came out. And the family, their biggest issue was that they couldn't be with them. In fact, they couldn't even sit Shiva all together after the fact, because, you know, they couldn't even do their cultural, you know, tradition. And so I think we're seeing a lot of the process of humanity, loss, society, and a systemic breakdown. But like we had originally started, I do think we're going to have a better, you know, our new norm and new society, hopefully, moving forward, because we are seeing this breakdown brought to light a lot of things, which moving forward, I hope that we can all connect to. On a pragmatic level, systemic, and emotionally, how we're coping.
That was excellent, because Colette, I want to kind of segue over to you. What is this breakdown? How have you been coping with it in terms of the breakdown of, or the revelation of all of the inequities that exist in this country?
Yeah, thank you, Tony. I mean, I think, you know, back to what we were talking about earlier, as a small business owner, as many others on this panel, thinking about, there are times where I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't apply for something because, you know, maybe I am getting some clients virtually, right? So I was thinking on the opposite side to what we were talking about earlier, where I'm thinking maybe there's someone else that could use it even more than I could. So I think there's like, we're all sort of having those moments of looking at like what choices we make. I'm actually solo quarantining. So I've been pretty much here for the past 6 or 7 weeks. So like Denise, doing lots of introspection as well. And I think being aware of how is it that we take care of ourselves at the same time that we hold space for others. Like, you know, it was very saddened to hear about, you know, the doctor, I believe, that took their own life, and sort of like that sense of,
after all of that giving, and then
so after all that giving, and so, you know, that sense of, you know, there is that meme of check in on your strong friend, and, you know, and I think that in this case, it's really ringing true, right? That sense of the people that, you know, always holding it all down and always holding it all together, right? That they may not be comfortable asking with support. So for all of us, it's about thinking about, you know, how comfortable you are with asking for help, and then finding ways to give and to be generous, but also making sure, you know, like Ellen said, we're not getting on planes anytime soon, but that message around put your oxygen mask on first, I think is really important in these times as well. I've been thinking about this concept of not just self-care, but radical self-care. And
what does that look like when you talk about radical self-care?
like really about thinking about, for me, it means about personal boundaries and what information I let in. So, you know, when this first started, I was like, oh, I want to know as much as I can. So I started watching the news more than I ever had before. And then I was like not able to sleep. And, you know, so I felt like I was getting more anxious. And so it's really about, okay, I need to get as much information in as I need to be informed. But not necessarily over consuming. And also, right, you know, the sense of there's also something called Zoom fatigue, right? You know, like, do we say yes to every meeting and every conversation and every opportunity? And it's challenging as a business owner because, you know, if I feel like, oh, if I say no to that opportunity, right, does that mean, you know, what does that look like in terms of revenue? So it really is like really being clear about priorities, being really clear about boundaries, and not in a negative way, but just in a compassionate way, like being compassionate for yourself, so that you can be compassionate and hold space for others.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, Colette. Thank you for that. I also had two thoughts as Nomiki was talking, and kind of relates to what everyone was saying. But one is, you were talking about like seeing all the different things, and I hope, Jennifer, there's some learning from this that is about it's a global pandemic. And while we are a nation of immigrants, we have so much to learn from how every nation and every culture has responded to this. And the takeaways are like the best practice from everywhere. And while we are a nation that has a very specific and multifaceted identity and what's American about how we responded and what's good and what's bad and all of that, I hope that we're paying attention. I'm on a bunch of WhatsApp and Telegram chat groups with, say, curators from all over the world. And when it first happened and all the global curators from every cultural institution all over the world were ongoing, like, how are we dealing with this? And the Americans were all like, who are you furloughing and who are you laying off? And all the Australians and Europeans and Asians were like, what do you mean furloughing? The government is paying our salaries forever. And we're worried about, you know, and it's like they were so different. And it was about, how are you taking care of yourself, to Colette's point? All the Europeans were like, and we're not going to just throw everything online that we were doing, you know, in the museums or in the theaters, because we're homeschooling and we're worrying about our kids.
Economy.
And it was so interesting how every national government and what other countries and content makers around the world, how they were responding to it was so different depending on what they worried about in their own economy, and how they were responding to taking care. And it was fascinating. And I'll just
we can learn from this, though. That's the thing.
It was really interesting.
Can we learn from this?
This is what I kept thinking from these comments, were that there's space for us to feel what we feel, guys. And I think I get that we want to be hopeful, and I think people have great coping mechanisms. I think I do. I had great supports, and I'm lucky for that, whether they were physically available or not. But there's a whole lot of people that, you know, may not have those internal resources. And so it's okay for us to feel what we feel. If you're feeling sad, it's okay to acknowledge that.
Something else that was really interesting is, so my sister lives in Central Florida and she's a veterinarian, and so she's an essential worker, and she runs actually a cat hospital, and she's always been a giver and giving back, and she does a lot of pro bono work. And so one of the things that happened, this was before cats could get it from humans. Cats have always had other strands of coronaviruses, but so she switched pretty early on to what she'll call concierge or curbside drop off. And it was always thought by veterinarians that having their human owners in the examination rooms made animals more docile, and it was better for them. So of course, as soon as this came on, the owners were asked to stay in their cars, because she lives in a car culture, and they would send a tech out to get the pet and bring the pet in. And she has discovered she is never letting a human into her animal hospital again. It is so much easier to take the pets and not have their owners come in. So one of the gifts that coronavirus has given her is that she is so much happier, and her tech team, and they get so much more done with the pets without the humans.
That's the innovation piece. The creative aspects of ourselves that are incentivized through this.